Yeah, welcome to another episode of Art's Place Conservative Talk from a Different View. Show number 80 something, 83, I believe. Today we got a great show today. We're going to talk about who is going to get the vaccine for COVID 19. That's going to be really interesting. And then we're going to talk about the mysterious suitcases. So let's get this underway. Let's get the. Okay, all right. Well, so without further ado, let's get my co host, Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome to the show, Lloyd. How you
Hello,
doing?
Art. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just relaxing. Just been working a ton of overtime at work.
Right,
So
right.
just taking advantage of my only day off this week.
Yeah. Why are you doing so much overtime? Just trying to catch up from when you were off for COVID, or just putting
No,
in
I
the extra
actually
money?
got unemployment during that time.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
So,
so I'm just getting as much overtime as I can so that I get those nice fat checks and, pay down
yeah,
some debt.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
hmm
yeah. That's good. Uh, so what do we got on the show today, Art?
Well, today we're going to talk about the order of who is going to get the COVID 19 vaccine. You know, England is already getting the vaccine, I think, this week.
Yeah, I
So,
had heard that they were getting.
so they got to jump ahead of us here in the United States because, well, their government say, hey, they already bought X amount of vials of the vaccine, so they're all ready to go. Here in the United States, we're still waiting on FDA approval to.
Yeah, and I think
So
that's part of the problem is the approval of the FDA compared to uh the national health system they have. Excuse me.
uh,
Anyways, the national health system they have over there and
yep,
stuff like that. So yeah, they're going to the other countries are going to get it before us, and simply because they don't have to jump through the hoops that ours do. But
that's right.
then
Uh,
again,
eh,
do we want to take those shortcuts or not?
yeah, that's right. Here in the United States, from what I've been hearing, we will probably get the vaccine in about 2 to 3 weeks. So it'll be either the end of December or early January when people here will start to get the vaccine. So I want to say hello to Rodney Bell and Mitch, old guy in a drone. Welcome to the show. So some of the states have a protocol of who's going to get the vaccine. There, there's an order. The first responders are going to get it, and then in order of importance, and then
Important. Yeah, yeah.
people that are vulnerable to the COVID uh, virus. That would be
Right,
the
right.
elderly and people with uh, comorbidities. So people with diabetes, obesity, or any lung issues like I have, which I have diminished lung capacity,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I'll be able to. But here in Colorado, our state health uh, system or board
Right.
decided, oh, we're going to do it a little different. It's going to be first responders, prisoners, then the elderly. So
Yeah, why
how
not?
screwed up is that?
Well, it's it's a state trying to CYA when it comes to those prisoners because they're responsible for their health and well being. And that's just one more lawsuit the prisoners can give. Doesn't care about the citizens. It's let's just not have a lawsuit because we've had this. We've had some of the same garbage going on here. We had people protesting at the prisons. You know, all Orange Lives Matter.
Right.
And it's like really
But
flipping on big,
here's the deal: if the first responders, which would be local law enforcement, they get it
right?
first, then it's not going to, the prisoners aren't going to be catching the virus from outside. So why do they need it? They're
Well,
already confined, and they're not going to spread it amongst the population. So
actually, that's happened quite a bit. That's part of the problem because they had people coming in from outside before they didn't get it under control fast enough in the prison
right.
systems,
Mm-hmm.
and it spread pretty rapidly. And that's what the protests were about here in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And not every law enforcement officer is going to get the vaccine unless they're
True.
required to by law. There's a lot of people that aren't going to take it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And uh, my we talked. Judy had a virtual doctor appointment the other day, and we talked
Right.
about this. And of course, our doctor is also he's a high risk because he's a cancer survivor, and and uh, plus he's on the front line, and he's taken all the precautions from the beginning because of his own you know depleted antibodies because he still has to go in every so often, kind of do a chemo touch
That's,
up. You know,
yeah. Oh, okay.
he
They
has to go
probably
in and
do a
take.
PET scan to see if there's any.
Well, yeah, he does that, but if there's any change in these, in even if they're not hot, but if something's showing maybe a little more activity, then he goes ahead and does a bump of chemo, and it's just maybe only 2 treatments is all he has to take,
Right.
or,
Uh-huh.
but he does it. So he's
Yep.
always at risk. But like he said, he's going to take it, and if he doesn't grow a third horn, then he's going to make it
Yeah.
available for us. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and but there's a lot of people that aren't going to take it. That includes unless they're required to by either their work or like law enforcement, uh,
Military.
military. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
military, we didn't have any choice. They said we
That's
had to have a
true.
vaccine.
That's
We took a vaccine.
Yeah. You guys
The other,
get the anthrax shot
yeah,
and the
and,
nerve gas shot
right,
and uh,
yeah. And the other thing you might think about, everybody would be up in arms about the prisoners getting it first, but in a lot of states, they do testing on prisoners first to see how
mhm.
effective it is among the general population of people.
That's
And they've done that for years. The
mm,
military and prisoners are basically some of the early human test subjects.
uh, guinea pigs.
Yeah, guinea pigs, exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's the way it's been for years.
Yeah,
And
that's
of
true.
course now people are more sensitive. Oh my God, we got to all have this. Why are they letting the prisoners have it? Well, if they bump off all the prisoners, look at all the savings they're going to get. One,
That's
they
true.
won't
That's
have,
true.
they'll get rid of some extra prisoners. They won't have to worry about lawsuits
Feeding,
from the,
clothing. Yeah.
yeah, it's just all sorts of advantages letting
Lowers
it.
overhead on the state.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
It's all
That's right.
sorts of reasons to let the prisoners take it. To be honest with you, I'd rather they tried it first because I don't want to try it until I know it's been
Right.
tested
Hmm.
because so many of these vaccines, and they've taken some shortcuts.
Yeah.
Uh, Rick said
Well,
seeing
here
Ron
in
Lockwood scared the heck out of him because that would have killed him. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. And I didn't get to see what Ron looked like, but the few people I have seen that I've talked to, uh, it's not a fun thing to have,
Mhm.
and it would
Yeah.
definitely kill us old farts.
Yeah. Well, there was someone in the chat last night. I guess they lost a sailor. He was only in his early 30s, and he was in good health, and it took him down. So this virus affects different people differently.
Oh
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
could be healthy as a horse, and this virus takes you down, which is just amazing.
B BMAC says they need a vaccine for prisoners so they don't wind up being prisoners in the first place. Yeah, be nice if they could, but I don't know if they have a vaccination against stupidity.
Yeah. Well, here in Colorado, a reporter confronted the governor about the state health board's protocol,
Right?
and when he told him that prisoners were ahead of senior citizens and people with health issues, he just kind of laughed it off and said it was false. And then he turns around and he says, "We're going to amend that protocol." If it was
Yeah,
false, then why would you say you're going to amend the protocol?
yeah. Well,
Which
you know
I
that's
find,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
because the reason he said that is because most of these slimeball politicians can't lie well enough and
mm-hmm,
stay ahead of their lie. They've so,
yeah,
you know, if you're going to lie, keep it simple. You know,
yep.
and
Well, and
they haven't
plus
learned
this
that.
Polis, he wants to be president. I think after his term is over, he's going to run for president because he's
Yeah,
a multi-millionaire. He's like on the cusp of becoming a billionaire. He's bought every office seat, starting off
right.
on the school board, and then you got a state house seat, and then you got a congressional, all in safe districts.
Yeah,
And then he bought the governorship. He outspent his opponent 10-1,
yeah.
and
There needs to
yeah,
be so much election change, and like you said, he might want to run for president, but
hmm
how well known is he nationally? I mean, to
that's
I
true.
wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you his name. To be honest with you, I can't even. Oh yeah, I just don't think who our governor was because he doesn't make a big name for himself. Our governor
hmm
doesn't, and how a lot of these guys have. They're a big fish in a small pond, but as soon as he jumps out there in the public, nationally,
Well,
he'll.
I mean, look at Hickenlooper when he ran for president. I mean, I think he got less votes than Kamala Harris. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
because he dropped out really early. And he
yeah.
was
I mean,
telling everybody that, oh no, I'm not cut out to be senator. And then after he drops out, he runs for Senate,
oh yeah,
and he
yeah.
ends up winning because, well, Colorado is now a blue state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I wanted to. I was going to save this for. I was going to save this little news article for my show on Monday, but we're talking politics. We're talking COVID right now.
Yeah.
Australia is on the leading edge of COVID detection right now.
Oh.
I heard about this yesterday. One of the things, and there's some job openings for some people down there if you need them. But let me set it up first.
Okay.
Because they locked down their borders. Why Australia did that? I don't know. Maybe they didn't want people coming in with COVID, but they locked it down. They isolated certain areas. They just shut it down, and they've
Right.
had a very low fatality rate
Mm-hmm.
from the COVID compared to the rest of
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been. Of course, our good friend Grant Smith. Uh, he lives in Adelaide, and in Adelaide, they are currently testing dogs that will be used on the port of entries. And they're doing it in Adelaide and in Victoria through the uh, one of the colleges. The good thing, and this grant. Good thing about these things here is all of their schools are state, their state college. So they're
Right.
not vying to get a grant because they want to, you know, bump their PhD a little higher, or,
Right.
pad their resume. They're doing
Mm-hmm.
this because they've been asked to do it and they've been given the money by the federal government of Australia. So what they're doing is they're testing uh, dogs and training dogs to actually sniff out
Right.
the COVID virus. And I'm sitting there, when I first heard it, I said, "Are you kidding me?" But then it was explained to me that they're actually can smell it in the perspiration. And it's the same thing they can do with diabetics. They can smell it on the breath of sugar change,
Yep.
whether it's too high, too low, or what. They can detect that. They're very sensitive to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, see you later, Rodney.
Take care,
And
Rodney.
I'm glad to see Rodney kind of getting back out here. I've been missing seeing him around.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, me too.
but anyways, here's where the job opening comes up. Once they've tested the dogs and they've proved that they are successful at this, they'll place them at all the port of entries coming into the country. All
Mm-hmm.
the airports, whatever. But this is where the job comes in. After the dogs have hit on a person, that's what they call it when they the scent.
Right.
Once they've reacted to a person, then somebody else has to go in. And I kid you not, they've got to take an armpit swab. Wouldn't you just love to have that job?
Ooh,
What do you do
boy.
with it? Well, mate, I check the armpits, make sure nobody's got that COVID.
Uh,
But seriously, oh my God, what a job to have. Yeah, I check armpits at the airport.
mm-hmm.
But believe it or not, it's a real thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I will tell you, my source, of course, is Greg.
Greg Coon.
He called me
Okay.
up yesterday and told me that. I just cracked up laughing.
And then we got Rick Halber and BMAC. Brian, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I haven't seen Steve Carpenter around. He's kind of floating around here and there, but I guess he's been really busy. Well, in California, L.A. is locked down.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
I don't know what's going on in the chat, but something is. Anyways,
Yeah.
well, it
Okay.
looks like BMAC's been timed out, and
Oh, he has.
yeah,
Huh? Oh, he said he probably put the C word in the. Yeah. That might have timed him out.
oh, well, no, it was done by Rick.
Huh?
Yeah, Rick, were you hacked? Let's see, waiting for the sun to drop down a bit more. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Wow, because Rick doesn't usually.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to call anything, but I thought I hadn't seen anything pop up because I'm usually right on
Yeah.
top of it. So
Yeah. And
don't know
well,
what
you know
happened.
that StreamYards is always a little bit laggy on the.
Yeah, yeah, and there may be
Huh.
something there that's we didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm on live chat. So
Well, yeah, and a lot of cities in California have locked down, and
lockdown.
evidently there's a sheriff in L.A. County that's saying to the governor, "Screw you, we're not going to enforce it." Same here in
Yeah,
Colorado. This is another good topic.
right.
We're at Code Red, and up in Longmont, some of the restaurants and businesses
Right.
decided, hey, we're already doing everything we can to stop the spread of COVID. we're not going to shut down. So what they did is they went to the city council, and then they went to the county health board, and they talked to them, and they said, "Oh, no, go ahead. You're okay. You're doing everything possible to, stop the spread. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
okay." The state health board is going to yank their license because they didn't follow. So this is the heavy hand
Yeah.
of government just screwing things
Well,
up.
that's it, you know. And what I find is uh, uh, the ever changing, what's the rules, not the rules, but the information coming out.
Yeah,
Okay, when this first started, let's wash our hands and wear some masks. That'll
yeah,
help prevent the spread.
mm-hmm,
Then we started hearing, oh no, you gotta have a N95 mask, and then,
yeah,
well, the N90, and this has been the argument I've always had. The N95 mask protects others from catching what you might have.
right.
It
Mm-hmm,
doesn't protect you from catching what others might have, which to me made no. Uh,
mm-hmm. I
uh,
mean, look at our governor here in Colorado. He and his partner,
yeah.
uh, they got the COVID. So, I mean, it's just wacky.
Well,
And then they want to go and shut everything down, and it's going to kill a ton of business.
yeah.
And
Well, the whole mask thing, like I said, there has not been any good information that where anybody knew. Uh, uh, I know you're keeping an eye on the chat too. Rick apparently stuck his phone in his pocket, and that's what caused the timeout. But anyways,
oh,
you know, I've said all along the wearing mask was good. It's
mm-hmm,
not. But if it saves me from catching from somebody, people were making the argument, well, it can't because it only saves them from catching from you. Well, I don't have anything to catch, okay?
uh-huh,
But somebody else does. Those filters
yeah,
don't work just
droplets.
one way. It's
Yep.
got it takes air in, it breathes air out. It's got
Mm,
to filter it both ways.
mm-hmm,
And to me, that was always the ludicrousy of the argument. That, in my opinion, was so they could COVID shame people that didn't have masks on.
yeah,
Well,
or
you're
virtual
not.
Satan,
Yeah,
virtue Satan.
you're not. You're not protecting yourself. You're protecting others by wearing a mask. If you don't wear a mask, you're endangering everybody. You're
Mm-hmm,
well, like they called everybody from all the Vietnam veterans, child killers. You know,
mm-hmm,
same crap with COVID.
mm-hmm,
Same bunch of. Anyways, I digress. But that's what I mean. We get all this information and all this, because there's not been a
mm-hmm,
concise policy across the board. Australia, they have one. They've got dogs that are going to sniff armpits now.
mm-hmm.
So, but at least it's going to be national.
There you go.
And
Well, and then the protocol, then after the elderly, then the prisoners, and then, but you know what? Young people, they don't need it because they're, they don't have, they're at the very lowest of succumbing to the
right,
virus. Uh, uh, So, like children, they don't need it. Here's the deal: you don't want to give it to children because the virus might end up down the road when they become adults, might cause a serious problems down the road. You don't want to
yeah,
give it to young people for the same reason. So, I would imagine people 50 or 60 and older will
right,
get it. And then once we get enough of the population to take the vaccine, then we'll develop what's called a herd immunity.
Right.
And then once we get that, and then that's how all the viruses, they go in cycles. Where
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
get sick, they develop antibodies naturally, and then
Right.
the cycle breaks. And then what happens? The virus mutates, then the next cycle starts.
Yeah.
Now, this is a coronavirus, which is different than the influenza virus,
Right.
from what I
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, I think about the vaccine right now. All I can think of at the moment, just you know, I'm going to have to wait and see what
mm,
happens. I'm not going to take it until I know that it's medically safe for me to take it, or safer than anything else. Because
mm,
if enough people, we're of that age that we fit in that category, or of that health
right,
level, that we fit in that category. And all I can think of is Edward G. Robinson in Soylent Green.
right. It's made of people.
You know, it's yeah. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, they're going to take us into a room and play pretty music and give us a vaccine, and they're going to bump all us old people off. No, that would be the perfect way to take over a country. Especially with socialism, bump off the old people, because we're a drain on the economy. We're a drain on their healthcare systems.
Yeah,
Just bump us all off.
Well, normally with flu vaccines, what they do is they take a segment of the dead virus, and they
Right.
inject that into people, and that develops antibodies on that. But here's the kicker: is the doctors or the people at the lab, they gotta guess which flu virus is it going to be this year.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, taking a roll of the dice and saying, well, maybe this will work, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
But what's different about this virus is using RNA. And what it does, it takes the protein of the COVID virus, and then they inject that into you, and then we develop antibodies that attack anything with that specific protein. And you know
Right.
what? This could be something down the road that could lead to a vaccine to cancer. Because,
Yeah.
especially prostate cancer, they have a blood test for that.
Right.
That's a PSA test.
PSA
Now,
test. I have
They
to take
already
one every
know
time I
what
go
the
in.
antigen is. All they have to do is develop an RNA vaccine that'll, attack that virus. Basically, what cancer is, it's a virus or a mutated gene that just can't shut itself off. It keeps
Right.
replicating
Right.
itself
Yeah.
over and over and over. Then once
Yeah.
we figure out how to target the proteins, then the white blood cells will attack it, and then if they could get it to where they could stop the blood supply to that protein, because
Yeah.
that's how cancers grow. Is they need
Right.
blood to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the
Because
things
if
that
you ever
bothers
look
me.
at a cancer cell, it kind of looks like a virus, but it has these tentacles.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how they absorb the proteins from the blood supply. And that's how they
Right.
grow.
Yeah. But one of the problems that some of the information I've seen is they don't have this pinpointed where it's attacking, just because they haven't pinpointed exactly the exact protein. So they're using a general. Well, they're looking at possible autoimmune problems later down the line, because it may go after some of the proteins that give us our immunities for certain things. Just to go in there, attack although this is a lab-made virus,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so they know, or they think they know. I don't know if China's ever released the core information so they'd know what to attack or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other proteins that there's the possibility that this could be attacking, and we won't know it until after they've given it, because
Mm-hmm.
they one of the things they normally do is they go right from where they're at now to animal testing. They've skipped that. They've gone straight to human testing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it's usually in the animal testing they start discovering the bad side effects, and
That's right.
everybody's gotten so it's, look at what BMAC's saying there. Uh,
Yep.
they're asymptomatic, or they only show mild cold or flu symptoms, and they've our own numbers. We are near here, and this one I'm thinking too is I've been thinking we're getting to that tipping point where yeah, we're going to have these spikes,
Right.
like we're in a third spike right now,
Right.
and areas that weren't hard hit, pardon me, areas that weren't hard hit in the first or the second wave are being hard hit now.
Mm-hmm.
Those that were already hit, they've developed that herd immunity. You
Right.
know, that's
Mm-hmm.
why someplace Oklahoma right now we're getting hammered because we kept it pretty well under control. Then we all the turtles came out and we started sticking our heads out and like, yeah, well, they can't tell us what to do, and we started getting
Yeah.
lazy, and we're paying for it. I haven't changed what I do from the beginning of this to what I'm doing now. Uh I still take the same precautions. I still, you know, I've I would probably always take those precautions just because Judy is a cancer survivor, because
Right.
of my
Right.
own
Right.
immunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, uh I I can't afford to catch our kids, they for years have not come around when they had colds or the flu or something,
Right.
just because they knew it would be deadly to Judy,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And uh uh
Yeah. That's true. And also, what's causing the spike is we let our guard down. People started traveling,
yeah,
and now some states are closing down their borders,
right, right.
and that's probably what Colorado should have done a while ago, because we got all these people coming in from the infected states are coming here, and all of a sudden we've got this big uptick
Yeah,
in COVID cases.
yeah.
Hmm.
I tell you who I feel sorry for is Georgia. Look at all them people coming and flooding into Georgia so they can vote in the election.
Yeah.
And, they may not all make it to the election because they're all going to have COVID because they're all coming in from these other states that already have it, and, you know, I'm
Well,
being,
they'll have to quarantine, so they
yeah,
probably. So,
but,
and
yeah, it's,
I want to go to the Philippines in early
yeah,
next year. Now that's not looking like that's going to happen. I might have to go maybe in the late spring or summer to go.
right, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
And with the new company, the new owners, I don't know what the vacation schedule is going to look like.
right, right,
Where
yeah,
the old owners, what they did is they made us choose the dates that we were going to take off for the year.
right, right.
That way, they don't have too many people taking vacation at one time to kind of screw up the departments.
Uh, BMAC says he's got to run.
All right, Brian, good to see you.
Yeah,
Be careful out there and have a good time.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And fly often, exactly what he
Yep.
says. And,
Hmm.
you know, there's another side to all this quarantining, though, and all this hunkering down. And that's, we're starting to see, and I'm seeing it just in us, the lack of human interaction has just gotten,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's starting people on depression, and
Yeah, yeah. I
once
mean,
you
even
become,
today, I felt kind of bummed out, and I'm like, oh, why am I feeling like this? I
yeah,
don't know what's going. Maybe I've been with all this overtime. Maybe it's starting to get to me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
in about 2 weeks from Wednesday, I'll be starting my Christmas holiday.
right, right.
Luckily for
What?
me, I get the day off before New Year or Christmas Eve. I was supposed to
Right,
get that whole week off, but because of the pandemic, I had to use a couple days of vacation when
right.
they laid us off. So,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, depression is going to be a problem, and I think it's already creeping it. And it's, depression is on several levels. Part of it
mm,
is, there's a chemical level, where your brain, just a second ago, I knew what it was. Dopamine has
yeah,
to, and
yeah. Well, you put the dope in dopamine.
yeah, I do. Yeah. But, your body takes it, and there's a lot of things in your environment being outside,
Mm,
it helps.
yeah,
It,
cloudy weather, sunny
yeah,
weather.
right. But
Mm,
when you can't get out and do a lot of those activities because of the
mm,
fear of catching something worse, that suppresses your system or depresses your whole system.
mm,
And then you start getting by the
mm,
time you start realizing you're feeling blue and bummed out, your system has already started to depress. That's what
mm.
uh, light deficiency people have to deal with.
Right.
They deal with it up in Alaska.
Alaska, yep.
You know, and uh, well, we're going through the same thing. And
Mm,
we are. They talk about. Uh, Brian was talking about the herd immunity. Well,
mm,
part of that is, with that interaction, we also keep. There's the herd mentality of depression. If we're not part of that herd, we're suddenly isolated. We're alone. We're not.
mm.
We start becoming lethargic. You
Well,
start
getting
down all those
depressed
roads.
and we don't
Yeah.
eat enough, or we start drinking more. This
Right.
leads into a friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. Passed away this year because, well, he was an alcoholic
Right.
and he couldn't see his grandma because of the COVID. So that made him more depressed. And what do you do? He started drinking more. And he ended up dying of liver failure and kidney failure.
Yeah.
And he was only in his late 50s, so he wasn't that old. He was a musician too, so I'm
Yeah.
not saying that
Yeah.
all musicians are alcoholics or drug addicts. I've got some musician friends that they don't do any of that stuff, and
Right. Yeah.
but
Well,
this
being an being a recovered alcoholic myself, you have to realize, that there's personalities. With some of these organizations say it's a chemical imbalance or whatever, but there is a type of personality that tends to become uh, uh, an addict or an alcoholic or something like that, and a lot of it has to do with. My father was an alcoholic. I didn't inherit an alcoholic gene, but yet my brother is a recovering alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. My sister was a teetotaler. I don't know if I can't think of her taking. I know of one time, the one that just passed away. I know of one time that, and I just heard about this last year. She was telling me about that she got drunk, and she went across the street to the neighbor's house to babysit the kids. and uh, she they were, this was back in the 50s, early 60s, and this was back, you had your white collar people. They come home, they had cocktails, like you see on the old TV
The old
shows,
shows back in the
yeah,
50s and
back in
60s.
the
Yeah.
50s, right? And
Oh,
they had a
honey,
full work,
I gotta have my martini before
yeah,
dinner,
you know,
and then
and
after dinner, and then before bed.
right, yeah. Well, this family across the street, they had a full stock bar
Oh
downstairs,
boy.
you know, and well, she was babysitting, so she decided to, you know,
Take a sample?
uh, oh yeah, she apparently sampled quite a bit. She mixed a couple of very heavy
Oh,
drinks in. I think that's pretty well was
she's
the end of
probably
her.
going, Bobby, get
Well,
down
she
from
was,
there. Sally, stop doing that.
yeah, yeah, uh, and I didn't hear about this, but apparently she got pretty sloshed and came
Oh,
home. And of course, she only had to walk across the street, but she got up. And of course, my mother she had like a special radar that knew when you screwed up.
oh boy.
And it wasn't that she screwed up by drinking, but she shouldn't have. And she managed to get past the guard, my mother. But the next morning, bright and early, real early in the morning, mom got her up to start doing laundry, and she was hungover and felt like crap. And
Yeah.
my mom said, "Are you not feeling good today? Well, let's get out of bed and get out there and start washing clothes and hanging out the clothes. You'll feel much better." My mother she knew, and she made us suffer.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
she had that sense. She would catch me coming home, and of course, we could drink in high school,
Oh, Lloyd,
18 in
what are
Colorado.
you doing?
Well, I'd come walking in the door and she says, "Well, I hope you haven't been drinking, because you know how your father gets when he drinks, and you know how bad it's been for him, and you've had to put up with that as a kid." I'm sitting there trying to hold myself up, and I'm leaning against the wall. She decides that's the point in time to make me stand there and have a 30-minute lecture on the evils of alcohol,
Yeah.
knowing. And then when I get to bed to sleep it off, well, she sends the old man in at 7 o'clock in the morning to get up and start doing chores. It was a Saturday. Why the hell did I have to get up at 7? Because I'd gotten drunk the night before and I had to pay for it. It was
Mm-hmm.
never mentioned that I drank. It was just, "I hope you haven't been drinking." I smelled like a saloon, There was no. And yes, folks, I admit openly that I did drink and drive. I was just friggin' lucky,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, I got to a point where, I even just a few drinks, I just got tired of feeling like crap the next day. You get to that age where alcohol starts affecting you
oh yeah,
differently, and I go, what am I doing? I'm not. I, I just feel like a sloth where I don't want to do nothing. I'm like, I got shit to do. I don't want to
right.
be like
Well,
that. So
I feel
I
like crap the
rarely
next
ever
day
drink.
now. I feel crappy the next day every day now. So why would I want to enhance that feeling?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm at that
That's
age that I
right.
already, you know, I've got the hangover without any of the fun.
Well, I've got a friend that he invites me over to dinner once in a while. He always says, "What are you having?" And I'll say the usual, which is uh, scotch and coke, you know.
Oh,
And I'll
okay.
have a couple of those and get home the next day. I don't have a hangover, but I'm tired. I
Yeah,
just feel blue. Yeah. So.
yeah. Well, Judy and I have just a small glass of wine every night at bedtime. And that's all we have. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, I have no. Matter of fact, if I feel it too full, within 30 minutes, even I feel like, oh God. So we have just a very small amount. It's just a, it kind
Good.
of keeps the heart pumping, and it helps us sleep better at night,
Okay.
and
Cool.
that's, the matter of fact, the doctor recommended, my doctor recommended I get some of the Jack Daniels and honey. Uh, I did for cough syrup, and oh my God, I took one drink of that, and I thought, no, I'll die of a cough before I'll drink that crap again. Yeah. I mean, some cough syrup tastes pretty nasty, but whew,
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff was terrible. And
Hmm.
so I still got a bottle that's had one shot taken out of it, and it's been sitting there for I don't know how long. Probably need to throw it out, but it was a cool looking bottle. So,
Well,
but
if I'm ever your way, I'll take it off your hand.
there you go. Yeah. Well, the thing is, getting back to what we're talking about, and this is the kind of stuff that we're leading into
Yeah, that's
mental
right.
health
It's
issues
either
from
alcoholism, drug
or
abuse.
drugs.
I mean, people are starting to abuse opioids, and now, I
Oh,
was
they've been,
listening
yeah,
to a show yesterday. There was a gal here in Aurora that died because she took what she thought was OxyContin.
right.
It was street Oxy.
Street, yeah, yeah,
Turned out it was fentanyl.
okay,
And that is like 100 times more potent than
yeah,
OxyContin because you only need, from what I heard, you need 2 milligrams is lethal.
yeah. It's
That
50
is,
micrograms over 72 hours,
yeah,
either 25 or 50. And Judy's on that, but it doesn't affect her at all because she's been on it for so long,
yeah.
and it just keeps it a minimum. But she takes it. Actually, she's supposed to change it every 3 days, and sometimes it's every 6 days before we get it changed.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
uh,
Oh,
yeah.
Rick is home now. Oh, good. That's good to
Oh,
hear, Rick.
good, good, good. Yeah. Uh, the thing about fentanyl is when they do it, what they're doing is they're taking those patches and they're melting them down and
Yeah.
taking the chemical out that
Hmm.
is the fentanyl, and that's where you get into the problem because there's such a strict dosing on that
Hmm.
that they really have to regulate it, and that's
Hmm.
they're again, they think they're taking one thing, they're taking another.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's segueing into that. I wanted to ask you this. I was talking to Judy about this last night. The states have all opened up dispensaries. It seems like every state now has just about
Hmm.
approved dispensaries for marijuana.
Hmm.
And uh, now Congress has been getting
Yeah,
ready
I
to
heard
pass a
that.
law.
And you know who the co-sponsor is?
Who?
Our Congressman Ed Perlmutter from Colorado. My congressman is one of the
Yeah.
co-sponsors.
Well, Judy and I talked about this, and I said, there's a reason why they're trying to legalize marijuana for recreational use.
Hmm.
Look at California, look at Oregon, look at Washington, look at how crazy those states are. It's because anybody with common sense now is stoned, and the rest of them have no common sense. So let's
Hmm.
just keep the whole nation stoned and
Hmm.
happy, and then we can pass all of our socialist liberal agendas all we want because they'll be too stoned to care or pay
Yep.
attention. And I
Yep.
truly believe
Well,
that's what's behind it.
ever since they legalized marijuana here, recreational
Yeah,
marijuana here, homeless situation is out of control. They just had a big camp cleanup, you know, in the Five Points neighborhood. Now it's called
right,
Rhino, which is along the Platte River. They
right,
had to
right.
go
Yeah, I know.
in and clean up the tent cities down there. And when I did my paid drone gig a few weeks
Right.
ago,
Yeah.
I drove right by that, and it looked really sketchy down there. And I feel
5 points.
sorry for all the people that are in those brand new apartments right there in the north side of downtown.
Yeah,
And
well, uh, Rick says I'm right. Just look at Nancy. I mean, there you go. Uh, all I can think of Nancy Pelosi's from Napa Valley, and I'm thinking I'm going to hire a wino just to decorate this home. That song.
yeah,
If you haven't heard that song, you got to listen to it. But yeah, uh, but 5 Points has always had a problem. Well, they did when I was a kid. It was,
hmm
and I know that they went in and did a downtown revitalization and
yeah, yeah.
really cleaned that area up. You know,
hmm
and uh, but for some reason, downtowns of most cities end up being where you have the homeless.
Yeah. Well, like Larimer and Lawrence Street, that was Skid
Yeah.
Row back in the
Oh yeah,
60s and
Larimer.
70s. And then they
Yeah.
redeveloped it, and that's where the Larimer Square, that's where the Comedy Works is now.
Oh,
And
is it?
then we got 16th Street Mall. That is starting to go down. Businesses, they've got their windows boarded up because they're worried about these riots and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And this, when you start looking at the landscape change of the people's attitudes over the last, of course, these elections have been a joke, but over since 2000, we've had nothing but one election scandal after another.
right.
And it's just got to be something's got to be done about it. But
hmm
you look at all this legalization of marijuana. Now I understand they're going to turn the other cheek or look the other way in either Washington or Oregon when it comes to meth and heroin.
Heroin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Cocaine.
yeah, cocaine. Yeah, it's like this is what this is what is destroying our countries. I mean,
hmm
this was a this is a problem back in the 60s and early 70s coming out of Vietnam, the war protest.
hmm
We had all these kids getting stoned on campus and they became anti-government, anti-everything, and they
hmm
just, of course, they finally grew up and became,
They're
well,
the
they went one or two
professors
ways.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're professors. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. hmm
Propagandists.
hmm
You
Yep.
know, but this is related to the. Uh, that's why. That's why the Soviet Union was trying to develop some drug programs that they could use to, you know, infiltrate into the country with. Let's bring,
hmm
uh, you know, let's inundate an area with drugs, and that lowers it raises our susceptibility, or lowers makes us more susceptible.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
word. Yeah.
yeah, that word. My mind just went blank on that. I'm old, and I've only had one cup of coffee, and uh, I had to set the alarm because we've been having we had another weekend of lousy sleep. So
Oh, I hate
yeah,
that too. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've had a kind of a weird week of sleeping. I was sleeping pretty good, and then I'm dealing with Section 8 housing again, and
Oh,
it's like going through all that crap. And I'm like, oh, why are you raising my rent that much? So now they're saying, well, okay, here's some paperwork, fill this out, and we'll get you a voucher. Okay, so
yeah,
luckily
and
I got my doctor's appointment because this pertains to my disability, so hopefully this will lower that increase down. And
right.
uh, boy, just uh,
Well, and a lot of the reason they do all that is they hope to drown you in paperwork that you'll just give up and say, "Oh, hell, this ain't worth it.
yeah,
I'll just pay the extra money." You
hmm
know, and
yeah,
that's
keep you
that's what they do.
poor. They don't want you to get ahead and
Yeah,
improve your situation.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
No,
getting to
they
the point where I'm seriously thinking about uh, retiring early and getting the hell out of Colorado. Go somewhere where the the living, you know, cost of
yeah.
living is lower, like Tennessee. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
Well, even
man,
Tennessee, certain
I could
areas are
buy a
pretty
house
high.
at a much more reasonable price. Or
That's
I
true.
could go to the Philippines and my dollar will stretch even further there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that's done that, gone to
Mm-hmm.
the Philippines, and a lot of expats over there. It's
Mm-hmm.
because, which is sad that we have this kind of cost of living problems here when you look around and, uh, well, in some ways, we're no better off than they are. We have the same kind of third world elections. We
Mm-hmm.
have rampant drug use that is sponsored now by the governments.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know,
part of it is because you got these city councils who have mandated these big increases in minimum wage, and they think they're helping the poor. It's not helping the poor. What you're doing is the people that were well off. You're pushing them down into the lower class, and
right?
all the young people are really hit hard because now these companies are saying, well, hey, we can't afford to hire these young people, so we're going to have these kiosks where you get
Yeah,
order, and then
yeah.
Mike B says that you can move in with Ken Herring.
In
Yeah.
here, oh well, that would go. Yeah, I could see you
No,
too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Uh, when that's it. Uh, they don't understand. Well, they do. They don't care.
Yeah.
You know, either
Be-
they've not taught basic economics in.
mm-hmm.
I think basic economics should be a requirement to graduate
Yep.
from college. You know,
That and civics needs to be taught.
civics, exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
civics. Yeah.
Because a lot of people do not know how the government works. They don't know what
Oh,
the three
Mason.
branches are.
Yeah, I've been so
I mean,
surprised,
even Rick
especially.
Perry didn't even know.
Yeah. Well, I've been so surprised at how many people just don't understand how our government's working. They think if this happens, then this is going to happen, so we can't let that happen. No, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many people I've explained that to. I'm going, I learned this in grade school,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
and I mean, yeah, I've got a college degree, worthless, but but
Yep.
it's been of use to me because it's helped with my interest and keeping my interest, in things. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my government class was the best government. It was uh, American government was one of the best classes I ever took,
Yeah.
and I did. That's the only semester I got a 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I aced the class.
Yep.
I actually got a I got 100 on every test,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Yeah,
was
I
without a
took
doubt the
government
hardest
in
class I ever
high
took.
school. Did really well in that class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I sucked in high school. I barely graduated. It's because I wasn't interested. I wanted to move on,
Mm-hmm.
get on with life. This is boring. Part of the problem is it was too easy, and I just said, like we had to do in our senior year, we had to do a term paper at the end of the in our English lit class. We had to
Mm-hmm.
do a term paper, but we had to have done 2 book reports, and you had to pick an author at the beginning of the year. You had to follow this author all the way through,
Wow.
and so do 2 book reports a quarter, and uh, then you had to do an overall report on the author and where he got his
Oh.
background and everything. I didn't turn in any of those book reports until the last 3 weeks of school. And
Right.
I did all the book reports. I did the term paper all within the last 3 weeks before graduating.
Oh.
I had to have them to graduate,
Right.
but that gave me a challenge. Once I was challenged like that, put some pressure on me, and I'll sit there and I'll just hammer away at it, and that's what I did. But once I got out into the real world, and I went in the military, and I had to do a lot of testing there. And anyways, that changed my whole outlook on life,
Yeah.
And I think if a person is able to do it, I think they should serve a minimum of 2 years, men and women, right out of high school, put them into the military, or they go to college right out of college. They serve 2 years.
You go.
That, I think that's the best thing that happened to me, because I was a slacker. I just didn't care. I'm still a slacker, but now I'm an educated slacker.
There you go. Well, Lloyd, we've done about an hour, and
Yep.
we almost covered everything. We'll save the black suitcases for next week.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Sorry about
I
that.
want to say hello to Mason Kaiser. Thanks for coming in. Mike B. I want to thank everybody for coming to the show. We kind of had a light audience there, but
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
we're still plugging away and get the word out there, and we'll grow this channel. So
Yeah.
everybody, thank you very much, and you have
Absolutely.
a great Sunday. God bless you. Any closing words, Lloyd?
You know what I say? Be kind. Treat each other better than you treat yourselves. Remember, all lives matter, even politicians. God bless and God help the USA. I'm out of here.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.